Okay, now it's time to use our special tool to press in the piston inside our camshaft chain tensioner. This basically goes into that slot right there. There's a hole at the bottom where this screws into, and you will need a 5mm Hicks bit to tighten this down. Okay, and you want to make sure while this is going down, this plastic piece of the special tool is resting against the plastic piece that's underneath the chain. Okay, and you want to press down on that. You want to tighten this down until that's depressed pretty much all the way, and you have slack in this timing chain. Okay, camshaft chain. Okay, as you can see, this thing has bottomed out at the down here, so you want to make sure you stop going once it bottoms out here. You'll feel it anyway, okay? But and as you can see, we got plenty of slack here now in the timing chain, the camshaft chain. Okay. Okay. Next, I'm going to go ahead and remove all the 4 bolts that hold the camshaft chain in place. Again, make sure when you go to remove these, the bit goes all the way in. It's properly seated so you don't strip the inside of these, okay? Okay, what we're going to do next is actually loosen all the bolts for the camshaft, for our intake manifold camshaft. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 camshaft caps that hold our camshaft in place. You can remove these all the way. I'm not going to. I'm just going to loosen them all the way, then put them back in a couple threads, and so that way when we go to pull up on our camshaft chain tensioner, it doesn't come up too much. There's no need for it. Okay, and these are also T30 require a T30 Torx bit. And best idea to it's just good practice to always start from the outside in. So we're gonna loosen these, then back here, and this here, and then work our way to the middle. Okay. Okay, so with all these camshaft cap loosened, now we got plenty of room here, but there's still something blocking it, which is this power steering pump line, this power steering fluid line. Now this thing, it looks like it's held in place by one nut, by a bracket, by that nut down there. So we are going to find a way of getting to that nut and loosening it. Be careful not to lose that nut, because if you lose it, you might not be able to reach it. Okay. Okay, and to get this nut off, actually, it also helps to have these extensions. At the end, it's swivel in, I guess, kind of, also at this end, so you can actually go in at an angle if you need to. Okay. If you have a magnet handy, that would probably make your life a lot easier. There we go. There it is. Okay, now we should be able to pull up on this power steering pump and just tuck it out of the way. Also, I'm going to remove this connector that's for the chain tensioner. Okay. Okay, so with those things out of the way, now you can even move up this chain tensioner up further, and you have a lot of easy access to the gasket now. And next, what you want to do is just get a pick or a screwdriver and just basically remove that gasket. Okay, and as you saw, I just went flying down here somewhere. Hopefully I can get it. There we go. There she is. There's our gasket, and you can actually see our half moon seal down there too. So there it is. That's our half moon seal, this guy right here. Let's just get a pick with a pick or screwdriver and remove that guy, and just basically pull up on it and get this out of here. It's gonna have all this RTV silicone on it, obviously, but which you need to do your best to try to clean up before we put everything back together. Okay, there she is. Another thing I forgot to mention is that you need to mark the, well, it's a very good idea to mark your chain to the sprockets on the camshaft. So it's going to be really hard to move them, you know, get them out of position, but you want to be on the safe side and mark them, so when you go put it back, you don't accidentally, if it has moved, you know it, so you can fix that before you put everything back together. Okay, here's a look at our old and new half moon seal. Obviously the same. Looks like whoever did this last put some RTV silicone under it. Yeah, so that's what we're going to do to you normally don't really need to use RTV silicone when you're doing it on this rubber seals, but this thing wasn't leaking and maybe they knew what they were doing, so that's what we're going to do. But since they use RTV silicone on the bottom of this, we're going to need to get down in there somehow. Maybe get like a rag at the end of a screwdriver, get down in there and you remove all the RTV silicone that we can. Okay. Also, while this is up in the air, go ahead and get a razor blade and scrape off these RTV silicones on these corners too, and try to scrape them out that way so they don't end up in your engine. Okay. Okay, as you can see, I got a thin layer of black RTV silicone on this, and I'm just gonna slide this back in there. And for this, again, we're gonna use our little pick, and yeah, it's gonna slide in there nice and tight. Okay, here's how it looks in there. You obviously want this to go in as you want this to be even as it possible, but still on the corners it's gonna stick up a little bit, so that's why we're gonna put some RTV silicone on the corners of this thing. We're actually gonna put it on the cam chain tensioner gasket where it sits on top of that, so that way it will seal well. Okay, and here's our gaskets for a camshaft chain tensioner. The only place I'm gonna put RTV silicone is on the back. This is where it sits on top of the half moon seal, and this will help seal it. Also, I'm actually going to put some RTV silicone on the corner here too, because that's another potential area of leaks for these engines. And you don't have to really work too hard to get this in there. As you can see, it has those guide pins where the bolt holes for the camshaft chain tensioner go into, and obviously this thing has 3 bolt holes too, so you put this on there, on the top one. On the bottom one there's also another guide pin, so as long as you get those in there nice and firm, you're good to go. Okay. Okay, I don't know how much of that I was able to get on camera, but basically once you put the top part in, you line it up with the guide pin, the guide that goes around the bolt hole. You just come to the bottom, on the bottom side, and then you just use your hand here on the bottom to line them up, and then once you light up the hole for the bolts, you start running them by hand, and if you get the bolts in and then you go around and look and this gasket on the bottom or top is not sticking out, then that means you're in the right spot. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do next is start tightening down our camshaft bearing bolts. One thing to do before we start doing that, if this camshaft has moved, you want to turn it back and try to get the slack out of the chain for your camshaft chain tensioner, and also make sure the marks you made earlier on the chain tensioner and the sprockets haven't moved either. Okay. And of course, when you tighten this down, you want to start from the center out. So we do this bit, this one, then this one, then this one, this one, and then this one at last. Also, you don't want to run. You want to make 2 passes if you can help it. Okay, so you run these down a little bit. Once you start feeling resistance, you go a little bit. Then you go here, do the same thing, back here, back here, back here, and then at the second pass, you use your final torque. Okay. Okay, and for your final pass, you want to torque him down, and the torque spec for these is 7 foot-pounds, okay? Also, when you're tightening these down, also on these, since there's 4 bolts, on these also go crisscross. So get this one, then this one, then this one, then this one, okay? Okay, same thing for the 4 bolts for the camshaft chain tensioner. I'm gonna run this down by hand first. Then I'll come back and do this one. Yeah, I'll probably go here, 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 here. Okay. Okay, and the torque spec for these is also 7 foot-pounds. Okay, next we just undo our special tool for applying pressure on our camshaft chain tensioner and remove it. There we go. Okay, next, before we put that cap back on with our new camshaft cap, it's a really good idea to get a razor blade and start cleaning off that old RTV silicone in the corners. As you can see, there's some down here, and this corner and that corner. Obviously we already cleaned that corner. Okay, next it's time to put this this rear cap for the exhaust side on, and I got the new camshaft cap on here. Also applied some thin layer of RTV silicone to these corners. It wasn't any on there when I took this off, but I think this is a good insurance. Okay, and if you can get your torque wrench in here, again, this is 7 foot-pounds. Okay. Okay, next what we're going to do is actually get that bracket for our power steering line back on. After you get the bracket back on there, a good way to get a nut on there without it falling off is actually get it in the socket and have it kept in place. So you can just put a piece of paper towel, put it inside the socket, and press that on. This way it will stay inside the socket while you go and line it up and put it back on. Okay, so before you put our new valve cover on, there's 4 areas that you need to put RTV silicone on. Again, I'm using ultra black RTV silicone. Those areas are that corner down there. Basically the same areas that you clean off the RTV silicone. That down there, and this corner down here. And there's actually a 5th area, which you can either put it on the cylinder head, or you can actually put it on your valve cover gasket, which is that area. That's the area that goes in the back of the cylinder head, inside that cavity down there, and you need to have RTV silicone down in there. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention is that before you put the RTV silicone on your valve cover on your top of the cylinder head, make sure you clean that area thoroughly with some brake clean, and also clean your valve cover itself, because if you put RTV silicone on top of oil, it's not gonna adhere, it's not gonna stick properly, and you're gonna have a hard time getting a good seal. Okay, so yeah, and also after that, when you put your valve cover on, make sure you tighten it down from the center out. I don't know the torque spec for that, but I would assume it's probably about I don't know, 9 or 10 foot-pounds or so should be enough. So yeah, put all the connectors back on, and make sure you didn't forget anything. Take care of when you put that PCV hose back on there. Make sure you don't break it or something, and hopefully you'll be able to get rid of that annoying leak you get on these cars, which you can smell inside the car. It's right next to your cabin air filter housing too. So you turn on your AC or heater, you smell that oily residue and the burning oil, and it's really annoying, I know. So yeah, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have any comments, please leave them below, and I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.